Hi, thanks for stopping by. I've been away for a little while. I was up in New York for a few weeks working the Ryder Cup, and I got a freeze of Shane Lowry behind me on the screen. And I've been giving this a lot of thought since it happened. The fan behavior at Ryder Cup and the general fan behavior at golf events in general, and then fan behavior in other sports. But right now, we'll talk about the way it is in golf, and it's indicative of what's happening. And I'd like to just share my thoughts on how we got here and maybe how we can get out of it because it has to stop. There's cheering, there's a little jeering, and then there's heckling, and then there's intrusiveness. And this got into vulgar intrusiveness, and we can't have that in our sport. So let's start from the beginning. We can't talk about fan behavior without talking about that movie. Yes, it was a great movie. It was fantastic. Happy Gilmore, an incredible film, absolutely hilarious. The film was made intentionally. It was made for those kind of laughs, and the people that made it, including Adam Sandler, who brought the character to life, did their job exceptionally well. This wasn't an Oscar-nominated film. This wasn't a documentary. This wasn't to make you think. This wasn't to give you a perspective on current events that were happening at the time this film was made. This was a film to make you laugh at your most childish level, and it succeeded wildly. However, what was that, 25 years ago? I could have looked it up, but I don't care. It was a long time ago that film was made, and it's had a, obviously it stays. It's got some staying power. But the problem is we have this group of men, and I'm going to call them men because I didn't hear many female voices sounding off like I did men up in New York at Bethpage. So there's a time and place for everything. And actually at the golf course, in the middle of a major event, I know this wasn't a major, but it's a big television event. Maybe it's I don't know. But this is not the place, and it's definitely not the time for that type of behavior because you're ruining it for 60, 70,000 other people attending and for millions of people watching at home. As a friend of mine once said to somebody else who was acting foolish in their late 30s, she said to him, hey, you're out of college now. College was a long time ago. It's time to put that crap away. And by that, she meant, ease up on the silly necklace, the Birkenstocks, and the whole Dave Matthews shtick. All right? These guys that were doing this, these weren't kids. These were adult men, probably with jobs and careers, acting like idiots. Put away the beer pong, the red Solo cups, the Happy Gilmore, and your Dave Matthews, and act like an adult in what is an adult environment. So when a guy hits a ball on a par 5 off the tee and you're screaming, get in the hole, you sound like an idiot because you're saying it and about 12 other idiots in the crowd are saying it with you. It's a chorus. Stand out from the chorus. Don't do it. It's idiotic. It's been done before. Let's just knock that shit off. Okay? Let's just do it right now. Knock that shit off. It's not funny. It was funny 15 years ago when you occasionally heard it. Now, it's just damn stupid. Okay, how did we get here? Happy Gilmore is only part of that. I have a theory, and I'm going to share it with you. And it involves, yes, social media, the root of all of our evils and all of our problems in this society. That's not really an exaggeration, I don't think. In the olden days, and if you're like me, I'm Gen X. I'm 59 years old right now, for a little while longer. Even though I didn't grow up in the era of Elvis and the Beatles, I remember my music idols, and I don't call them idols, the popular musicians of my era, and then my brother's era, which was 10 years ahead of me. I got that influence as well. I remember hearing about these musicians and actors as well, famous people, and you would always see them posing with, sitting on bags of fan letters, these big mail sacks. And you would hear about them responding to fan letters. Now, they didn't go through all that mail. Elvis didn't sit there and go through all of that mail. Other people did. They called it down and said, here's 5 or 6 of them. Let's respond to Mary Jo in Iowa. Let's respond to Edna in England. And, make a big deal of it that Elvis responds to his fan mail. And I'm sure the Beatles probably had the same thing. So that was how it worked then. You didn't hear from these people. There was this boundary between the high-profile people and the rest of us. And that boundary was good. That was a really good boundary. And you didn't cross it. They stayed on their side of the boundary, and we were supposed to stay on our side. Yeah, yes, we tried to get backstage at the concerts, and, as a guy, I didn't have any skills to get past the security guard like some people did. And, you wanted to, but you didn't. You didn't get in. And if you did get in, you had to act right, or you were thrown out. Again, boundaries. Well, now we have this thing called Twitter or X. I don't have it. I tried it for about 10 minutes when it first came out, and I didn't see the point. And also, I know me. Back then, 15, 16 years ago, 17 years ago, I kind of stirred things a little bit. I thought it was fun. And what it did is it just wore me out and exhausted me. So I left all that behind. But I can actually fire up an account on Twitter for free. And I can make outrageous statements to high-profile people who are active on Twitter. And they can respond to me. And they often do respond to those of us on the other side of this boundary. And when they do that, they blur the lines of this boundary. They need that boundary, and we do. Now, let's get something straight. By no means am I saying these people have brought this upon themselves. But I think some corrective action can be taken with a little discipline on the part of the high-profile people. Now, if you're a high-profile person, you have every right to speak your mind. And you shouldn't be stifled because of social media nut jobs. But maybe you'll want to. Now, here's why. If I go on to Twitter, X, whatever the hell it's called today, and I post something towards, let's just say Rosie O'Donnell. Okay, she's topical now because of her ongoing disagreements with the current administration and their leader. But if I said something, she could possibly respond. And she often does to people, I believe. And that sort of gets in the mind of me, the person that's on the other side of this boundary, that, oh, I now have a key to the door to get through the boundary. And now I'm in the kingdom of the high-profile people. And I'm not. And I think if people like Rosie and the athletes and the actors and the artists of our time would step back from social media and not engage with the people that support them because we want to see them excel at their craft. If these people would just stop engaging with us, I think a lot of this would stop. I think the boundary lines would not be blurred and they would be very distinct. Yes, people are always going to try and cross them, but you don't have to engage. And I think this is where we are. I think so many people have gone online, made comments. I can't say if Shane or Rory have social media accounts. I don't know. And I'm not saying they've done this. But even if they haven't, the prevailing wisdom, if you want to call it that, amongst the fans and the audience is these people are now more accessible than ever. And I don't think they should be accessible. I really don't. And I'm not even talking about it from a safety standpoint, because I can't remember the actress's name who starred in My Sister Sam, who lost her life when a fan came to her door back, I think it was in the 90s even. And I'm not even talking about it from a safety standpoint. I'm thinking we need to get those boundaries back. We need to set them. They need to be absolute, and everybody has to be clear about them. And I think if high-profile people would step back and not engage those of us out here, stuck in traffic, 9 to 5ing, doing the commute, I think things would be a lot better. I think it would set the high-profile people free from a lot of aggravation. and it would put us back in our place where we belong. And don't think that that's a dig at just being regular guy or regular gal. That's a great place to be. That's an awesome thing to be. Just being a regular guy and a regular gal, it's awesome. I like it actually. But if the high profile people would just stop, and it will take some time, but I think people will eventually learn that Rosie's not accessible to me. Rory's not accessible to me. The politicians we elect are only accessible maybe through their office and maybe through written communication. I mean, put some skin in this. I mean, I know that's a weird thing, but if you make it to where somebody has to put in some effort to reach out, to communicate, then chances are you'll have a good chance of only the serious people getting through. Because it takes nothing to hit these keys right here, and send something off. And I can do it again and again and again. I can sit here for hours and do it. But if I actually had to take pen to paper or write it out in a Word document, print it, lick an envelope, lick a stamp, and then put it in a mailbox, it would probably cause me to only go to those efforts if I was very serious about it, not just had a wild hair up my backside. So I think we need to get this under control because, and again, not even from a safety standpoint, because that is definitely something of concern. And people smarter than me that work in security for high profile people, I'm sure they're on it. I hope they are. But I also think from I hate to say this, I hate using the word society, but from a societal norm, we need to get back to that. We need to have Clooney in his big house and in his world, and we can stay in ours, and we can watch him on the screen. We can buy tickets to the theater for him. We can see Rory play on our screen. We can buy tickets to go see him in person, but we will all behave better. And then everybody that's there in person will have a better time. Everybody at home will have a better time without having our announcers have to explain why an F-bomb came through on television. Now, we all know what that word is. We've all heard it, and many of us use it. But there's a time and place for it. And on television is neither the time or the place. So that's just my thought on how we can possibly dig ourselves out of this. I think it's going to take some work on our part as the audience, and I think the subjects of our affection and our admiration, the athletes, the performers, the artists, the musicians, I think it'll be better for everybody if we all just behave a little better. Manners, it is what it is. It's just manners. And it's not just your golf tournament and Rory's when you're having that interaction. It's everybody's. It's mine too. And I'm working the damn thing. You know, where's my little thing here? Ryder Cup. So, you know how much this thing cost? This was ridiculously priced. And the only idiot is me who paid for it. I didn't have to buy it, but I did. Anyway, and I got a free one from the network, which is really nice, but that's another story. So anyhow, what do you think? Am I off base here? Is there a shared responsibility on everyone's part, not just us as fans and the audience behaving properly? Do you think maybe that the higher profile people should stop engaging with us? Because I think that's really key right there. I hate to say it, but I think they're going to have to make the first move and just shut down communications with us. And if they need a social media account for business, then it should be administered by a third party who is not going to say, who's not going to get their anger up, is what I should say, or not going to get riled up by an idiot, provocative social media post. Am I wrong? I don't know. You tell me. And I don't mean that in a, like in the comments below, because that's another thing I want to talk about. Maybe not now about comments. It's I think we turn the comments off will be better, but that's different. That's a different talk for a different time. Am I wrong? Tell me. I'd like to know. Because I'm really tired of this crap. I really, really am. Not even from a guy who works in broadcasting who has to hear it in the comms, and then hear my announcers have to apologize for, the words that come across, because we do have a standard that we have to live by. There's a time and place for those words, and that's on your cable network and your HBOs and in your own locker rooms and homes and golf courses, whatever, when you're in private, but not for general consumption over a broadcast of millions. I kind of like the standards, actually. I think it's a good thing. It's not censorship. It's just manners. So anyhow, that's me sounding off for today. Bye-bye.